Chat, here we go for real. It is Toxic versus Atow. Courtesy of Green Chef, we have a nice $100 prize pool today if you guys appreciate the show matches or what we do here on the stream. The way to support today, as opposed to donate to the prize pool, would be to check out Green Chef. It'd be a very kind thing to do, and we'll certainly encourage places like Green Chef to sponsor our stream again. Toxic will score first. There was a lot of controversy over the test lobby we just were in, which you guys on YouTube probably won't see, but Toxic did score first in that one, and he's going to score again to get his 1-0 lead right back. Toxic slamming a top shelf shot, able to follow it up after the save. Atow has a couple different 1v1s to play today. He told me that he'd be down to play on my stream before I even found out that he was also going to be playing against Zen today. So this is his warm-up for Zen, and Toxic is making sure he gets nice and warm. He is not holding back any punches so far as he flicks yet another goal to the top right. Atow is a high-level ranked player right now. One of the few players who I feel like are putting in games. Atow missing a wave dash kickoff, and that certainly is going to get you scored on. Instead of making you fast, it makes you extra slow. Toxic side flip to stop Atow's first attack, and a long shot to make it 5-0. It is absolutely a massacre so far in the first minute. Atow's going to stop going to the kickoffs, but Toxic did as well, and then we just got a regular kickoff. That's my favorite. My favorite half flip kickoff is when it just becomes a regular kickoff when both players are forced to just come back. Toxic slamming this one way off the backboard, not able to follow it up, so Atow will escape, and great control by him to bring that back on target, but Toxic is there. Air dribble, reset, doesn't use it, or might not have actually gotten it. It seemed like he was going to try and get a little bit of late movement on the ball. Where is Atow's offense going to come from when we know it eventually does? We saw a wide range of offense from him in previous matches on stream. He's going to go for the full field dribble. He gets caught in front of the ball, though. That makes Toxic's job easy. Atow with no boost, forced to back off. He's going to go all the way to the opposite corner. Toxic on the ground dribble. Surprised we haven't seen a flick from him in those positions. He is one of the better flickers when it comes to 1v1. Atow, the air dribble bump. When nothing else is working. Not a bad idea to go to Old Faithful. There's the flick that I'm talking about. Atow is fully backed off, and still the flick was almost fast enough to get past him. Atow, there'll be a dunk. A dunk will be what gets him his first goal. Toxic thought he had done enough to get him to back off repeatedly, but this time Atow does just dive. Takes it right off the top into the net. Toxic, one of the better kickoffs in the 1v1 game. I wonder if we pulled the 1v1 players again, who they might pick as the player with the best kickoff. Because I, once upon a time, did a survey of all the top ones players I have contact with to see who they give various superlatives. Toxic was in a three-way tie for best kickoff with a few other players. He was tied with Moxie and KV1. Probably Zen for best kickoff. Yeah, I don't think Zen's about to win best kickoff anytime soon. Atow. Dribble uses the reset to make sure that Toxic misses in defense. But he also brought the ball off target in the process. Back corner steal. Atow's in a tough spot now. 0 to work with. Toxic little camera check. Is he going to find a way to score this? The wave dash, the 50. What creativity. I thought for a second Toxic was looking down to maybe try and bump Atow. But he was just trying to get a read on where he could wave dash the ball. Back on target. 6-1 in favor of Toxic. Toxic's RLCS team has been doing well recently, which is something you love to see from these guys who sometimes get pigeonholed by the audience as only 1v1ers. And I think Toxic has now proven what he's done with Suh. He's made top 12 almost every regional, it feels like. Maybe one of them he got top 16, and the other two he got top 12. Atow's ready to go next as Toxic scores yet another one. 7-1. He wants to finish it at the Brazil. Yeah, Atow's team has been doing really well, but he's never been pigeonholed as just a 1v1er like I feel like Toxic might have been. Game number 2. Toxic and Atow. Toxic looking insane in game 1. And I've said this a lot before. I think forfeiting can be smart. I know for a long time, people were really, really upset about forfeiting early. And they thought it was some kind of disrespect, or I can't remember why people were not big fans of it. Maybe they just wanted to watch, you know, one more minute of Rocket League in the previous game's case. But I think having a good read on when the game is lost and when you need to go to the next one is not a terrible idea. It could be very good for the mental, I would imagine, to not just continue to get dominated in the game, instead refresh. And Atow's kind of showing that right now. He scored 1 goal in the entirety of the 4 minutes he played in the previous game. And after forfeiting and starting anew, he's already gotten 2 in under 30 seconds. Toxic back into his corner. Into his flick a bit late. Atow able to challenge before flick comes off. Playing off the ceiling. Atow lobs a pass to Toxic to finish off this possession. It's certainly not impossible to come back 6 goals with a minute. It takes way less to score. Even a somewhat slow kickoff goal goes in before 10 seconds, so you'd have to do that 6 times. So, I mean, it could happen. And if it's a tournament game and that's the final game, of course you try. But in game 1, might just be better to get a fresh mental. Atow back off the back wall after the Toxic miss. Able to retake the lead. Toxic dunked. Back before the follow-up. Atow tried to win a low 50 by staying grounded. Take advantage of the fact that Toxic was very much panicking on his back line, but Toxic's panicked it enough. Atow really likes this pogo shot. We saw him use it a ton in his previous match against Mizu. He took the $500 challenge to try and take Mizu down, and he did succeed. Atow, nice dribble setup. 4-2 lead. What was looking like a match that might be fully dominated by Toxic has now evened up a bit. Toxic never feeling like he could turn to challenge. Tried to shadow that whole dribble. Couldn't react to the shot in time. Atow is going to bump Toxic into his half and might be able to score. Toxic just barely not able to get back. Decent recovery. Oh, maybe he was trying to clip that midfield boost with the tail end of his car while recovering. Would have been nice to have just a bit more. Toxic, in an attempt to try and clear the ball, sets up an air dribble for Atow, and he shows you the pogo that he loves to do. Toxic looking to challenge as if that ball is coming down to the ground and is going to be caught. But that's not Atow's plan. His plan is to make his car as long as possible by connecting with the ground and popping the ball up. Toxic goes flying past underneath. 6-2. It's almost a complete reversal. If Atow is able to get one more goal, it'd be a 7-2 game 2 for Atow versus 7-1 for Toxic. And Atow actually has even more time to work with right now. Way more time to work with, really. Toxic's going to give him a freebie. Slamming it off the back wall. Atow's going to try and stop it on the goal line. Ooh, he did not succeed. He saw Toxic was tilted in net, had completely stopped moving, and he thought maybe if I prevent it from going in, I can waste even more time. So it's 7-2. Quite the turnaround for Atow. Toxic's dribble leading to the goal line 50 that he can't keep in. Early challenge. Toxic this time around. Atow tried to dive and steal that corner boost, but didn't feel like he could go fully deep enough. Oh my goodness, Toxic. I talked to Toxic about his flicks because it seemed like he does the same kind of air rolling that Boxy does. So Atow bumps him off the back wall. And he said he never really thought about it actively, but after I'd asked him about it, he said, yeah, he definitely uses his air roll left and right when he's flicking to help gain that extra power. And I mean, you can just see the results. You know that he must be doing it because only really Moxie and him and a couple others get that kind of absurd power consistently. I don't know if you guys saw the chatter in chat, but all the way through game 1, it seems like the mods did not close the prediction and people were getting mad because more people were voting on Toxic. But Atow shows you that maybe you shouldn't count your chickens too early. He completely dominates in game 2. Ties it up. Toxic and Atow. Game number 3. I expect to see a bit of closer games. This is not the only time I've watched a 1v1 like this where a couple players dominate each other before recognizing each other's strengths, and we see a much closer end of the game or end of the match. Toxic had such a nice shot. Oh no, and then he follows it up with a slight miss. He missed it just barely off the corner, and then a whiff at midfield means he'll go down early. Toxic lobbing the ball high, sending it over to Atow, giving him space, and being able to get boost to defend with. Atow got so much movement on that reset. Too much movement though, and I think we've seen him do that a couple times now. A demo, the respawn is in time. Toxic able to clear the ball into the corner. Toxic off the back wall. Atow was looking for a demo attempt. I don't think Toxic was necessarily trying to avoid it, but he does manage to avoid it and setting up his dribble. He's got 0 boost. He's behind the ball, but he is doing a great job of dancing around and preventing getting demoed and letting Atow get the ball. It was pretty impressive. Not able to finish it off with a goal, though. Atow falling from the ceiling, tries to get back to it. Did enough to not let Toxic have the ball for free, but now starting a carry. Atow recognizing that he does not want to let Toxic get to the ball on top of his car. He is very lethal with his dribbles and his flicks. So if you have the chance to challenge him before he collects, that's what you want to do, because when you aren't able to challenge him before he collects, this is often the end result. Atow tries to turn to Shadow, but too little, too late. Atow, air dribble bump. Hits Toxic early. Oh, there was a chance he made it back. He tried to adjust to the back wall because this bump happened so far away from the net. There was almost a world where Toxic lands and then gets a save. Oh, it's so close. That would have been such an epic save. Toxic dancing behind the ball, reversing and breaking in an attempt to bait Atow out into making a bad challenge. Atow never does. Stays grounded. Now he's passed it up to Toxic, who's not going to accept the offer to aerial. Instead, he backs off and looks to play the ball off the bounce. Atow uses that as his signal to try and challenge. He says, if you're going to let the ball come down, I'm going to come meet you there. The problem is Toxic had that long shot available as well. If you're going to try and come out to beat him, he can just hit it off the volley right over the top of you. Atow loses his kickoff straight into his back wall. Toxic able to follow it up. Unvoiced. Thank you for the tier 1 for 3 months. Love the videos. Appreciate your support. Atow from the ceiling, falling so far away from the ball. All he can really do is just protect it. Almost playing defense at that point. And he's got himself a bounce dribble now. Toxic able to clip just enough of it. Send it off the crossbar. Atow back into his half. Possession is still his. Toxic has dove really deep to meet him there. So the air dribble bump comes from Atow. Toxic evades. Not a ton of boost to work with. Another really strong first touch that is making it fairly easy for Toxic to read. If you keep that ball close the whole way, and the earlier you're able to get the reset, the more impossible it is to challenge because you just have no idea what the attacker is going to do. But if Atow keeps getting these strong first touches, separates himself from the ball, that's when Toxic knows, all right, I have at least a full second or a half second to challenge here without Atow being able to do anything. Makes it so easy on the defense. Atow down 1. A minute left to go. Toxic going to play this bounce off the wall. Atow comes to challenge and gets just enough of it. Low 50 doesn't lead to an immediate goal. Toxic doesn't want these air dribbles anymore. He's very clearly taking him down to the ground. A bit too strong of a touch into the corner, though. Toxic couldn't make up for it on the tight angle shot. Big challenge to get Atow in the air. Now he's got to carry. He's going to take it to his back corner. Doesn't want to try and attack with 0. Atow is fully leaving. Another wall setup that Toxic tries to take to the ground. You see most players nowadays, even Toxic normally, I think he was doing this earlier in the series at least, when the ball's on the side wall, it's more convenient. It takes less interruption of the flow of the game to just start an air dribble and play it from there. So it's actually fairly rare nowadays to see someone go up, power slide around the ball, chip it back towards the ground and try and collect it, because so often you don't get away with that. Toxic's done a good job, though. I can't believe this game's just going to end 3-2. Toxic did a good job of playing keep away and playing safe. That's why he was playing on the ground so much, and it pays off as nobody scores for the last, what feels like, minute and a half, if not more. Toxic gets the win. Game number 4. Toxic and Atow. I wonder what these stats... I have this new tool. I talked about it earlier. It gave me stats. I haven't been looking towards it to see if it says anything interesting. It gives me team boost percentage, which is interesting. Although I think I'm more interested in long form stats probably. Like who's had possession the majority of the game, not who has possession right now or who has boost right now. Nobody getting any scoring opportunities. This first minute in. Atow able to use power slide to stick with this ball cleanly after the 50. He's been all over it. Hasn't been able to create a scoring opportunity yet. Toxic is going to read that setup on the wall early to give himself some breathing room, something he hasn't really had. Atow keeping ball cam on. This is very unique, and I think it helps him read defenders. I'm going to just stand his perspective again. Although this time, I would say it did the opposite. It almost made it so he couldn't read Toxic. It kept him behind the ball. But as far as I know, he's the only player I see doing this, keeping ball cam on during those air dribble setups, or just dribbles in general. Normally, players take it off. It helps you keep the ball on top of your car, read everything that's going on. Sometimes, if the ball moves from slightly on the left side of your car to slightly on the right, there's a ton of camera movement, which can be very off-putting. I mean, anybody who's played for very long doesn't need me to explain that it is much more comfortable to turn off ball cam when trying to carry the ball. But Atow seems to think he gains an advantage by keeping it on. You say Zen doesn't take off ball cam either? Look at this flick from Toxic and a save. Crossbar down. Atow in and out of the side of his net as well. Used actually a ton of boost to get back to that ball. I think that might have been a bit of a mistake because now he's going to have to defend on 0, yeah, against Toxic, which he would have been better off not trying to rush to the ball. As cool as it looks to fly in and out of the net off the side. What is this half loop kickoff from Atow? That's an RLCS player. That's a major player right there. Showing you the mechanics that you too can be pro if you can backflip upside down, land turtle on the boost, and leave the net wide open. Atow, incredibly risky challenge from the ceiling. He's able to get at least enough on it to not let Toxic have a free one. Atow wall dashing his way back to the corner. Toxic not able to follow up this touch with only 14 boosts to work with. It's going to be a handover of possession to Atow. Does a good job fighting off his dribble. He's looking to try and bump on the goal line. He's able to swing through and steal boost, so Atow should be working on quite a bit less than Toxic has. They're both at about 0 now. Atow, not a great first touch. Oh no, Atow, what's going on? Earlier, Atow had a very questionable backflip into the corner, and this is, I mean, he's looking like me out there. I can hit that air dribble, but I'm not sure those kind of air dribbles are going to get you wins against a guy like Toxic. Toxic direct kickoff goal. I think a wave dash. I want to watch this again. Yes, he did. Oh, they both went wave dash. And Toxic actually missed his wave dash, but he won it so heavily that it didn't matter. Toxic might be able to punish this delay. Atow slightly delaying it. He had enough of losing them, and he actually still lost that one pretty terribly. He was able to recover before Toxic got the goal. Atow trying to force this ball through, and is going to succeed in doing so. Toxic had 100 boosts to work with, and he tried to get patient. He tried to slow down and not overcommit. That ended up making it possible for Atow to actually just chip it over the top of him. Toxic not shooting off the first bounce. Atow did not overcommit to that. Thank you, RL Nick, for the brand new Prime. Oh, 2 months of Prime, actually. Not brand new. Thank you. Atow has had these saves. He backs off a ton off Toxic, and Toxic is still trying to flick past him. He's almost been able to do so. Wait a second. This slight bump could lead to a goal. No, Toxic covers it. Atow likely to back off here with 0. Knowing the way Toxic's been playing, he wants to get to a ball carry, and that's exactly what he is. He's going to flick to the left side of the net, which it looked like Atow was giving him. You see that recovery on the shadow flipping to the right side, leaving the left open, but maybe Toxic played right into his hands. You could argue that's exactly what he wanted, expecting to recover. A lot of times that can make defense easier on you. You show one side of the net and then immediately prep to cover it. You can bait somebody into flicking it right into your hands. Now Atow with a lead, 30 seconds left. Toxic, big kickoff win. Atow not the best recovery either. Toxic able to steal the back corner boost. He knows Atow doesn't have a ton to work with. Trying to undercut him here. Atow will certainly have time to grab boost now, so it'll be a final offensive attempt from Toxic. He sees Atow on the ceiling, doesn't take the immediate dribble, instead to the ground. Is he going to go for the bump? No, he actually decides to play keep away. Bounce the ball over the top of Atow, who is likely low on boost now. Atow's going to come immediately, challenge, and he bumps Toxic, even though Toxic got it over him, which was the plan. He got slammed away from the ball. It'll be Atow forcing game 5 in another great matchup. Game number 5, Toxic and Atow. It has been another classic between the two high-level European players. And Atow is going to strike first in game 5. It has went so far how I expected. After a couple 2 dominations going both ways, for some reason, series always seem to just clean up a bit and start to be really tight in the final games. That's what games number 3 and 4 certainly have been. But will anybody be able to break through in game 5? Toxic wants the wall to air dribble. This is a complete change-up from what we saw him do the previous 2 games, where he would take almost any setup and force it to be a ground dribble. This time, he went out of his way to start a wall to air dribble. Toxic able to grab the back corner boost. Is he going to be able to prevent a long shot? Did force Atow to take it a bit too quickly. Atow is trying to recover while being carried by Toxic. He actually did a good job. Now it'll be a ton of space again. Toxic. Ball carry. Not going to flick this time. Instead looked like the beginnings of an air dribble bump potentially. Atow turned to challenge him. Tight angle shot. Might be countered. Atow actually not able to hit the long shot. Instead takes to a bit of a slower dribble, which does enable Toxic to make it back. Atow with space, sees Toxic approaching him from the midfield, decides to take it up into the air, and there's not a lot he can do from his current position. All he could have done was slam it out of the net. Toxic actually almost made it possible for him to score by challenging him. By challenging him, it made it so that he had something to deflect a hit off of and potentially score. But either way, Toxic has kept himself only down 1. I think that will end right here as he goes flying past the ball. Actually, maybe not. Atow couldn't find the angle. Seemed like a freebie. Toxic smart to make a soft touch on the goal line in order to collect this dribble. His flick will finally score. Atow's done a good job of mixing in challenges and full-on shadows this time as he approaches the ball. Toxic's able to flick it past him. I think he approached a bit too wide. Made it impossible for him to challenge even if he wanted to. Toxic going to demo him. And it looks like he's going to reset on 100 and probably play on the ground again. As he chips in field. Atow really wide swing. This time Toxic not falling for the wide swing. And instead seemed to be looking to put the ball right where Atow is at. I just talked about it earlier. Defenders like to show one side of the net and then cover it. Toxic was banking on that by putting it at where he was instead of where he expected him to be. 1-1. These guys absolutely destroying their controllers with their grip right now. Full focus Neither one of them wants to be the one to make the mistake and give up the lead. Toxic has lost a bit of power on the past couple flicks. Both of them looking to potentially demo each other. The midfield, Atow just left the net open, it seems. Yeah, he did. I thought maybe Atow was doing it again. I was like, there's a small chance he's baiting out a shot he can save. But man, does it look like he's just leaving the net open. And turns out that's what it was. All he can do is redirect it into the bottom corner. Toxic sees the half-loop kickoff and takes the ball all the way back into his half. Atow diving. Actually should be able to score this. Yeah. Toxic was trying to go for the counter by getting an early possession, but was not comfortable in his corner. Could not keep control. This time Toxic's going to decide to chip the ball at Atow, and he flicks over the top of him and scores. So Toxic decided against the possession strategy, said instead, let's see what Atow can do. Trying to recover from his corner on a quick shot. Delayed kickoff from Atow. Toxic driving right through the ball and bumping him away, I think because he was probably trying to go wave dash kickoff. Atow had an open net. He's going to be able to get it. I'm like, wow, if he doesn't score this one after the Toxic miss. There's been quite a few of these. Toxic. Oh, wow, the ghost hit. I don't know if he's on my ping, but on my ping, that was quite the ghost hit. Toxic's been a couple pixels off the ball in the midfield many times. That has resulted in some easy goals for Atow. Toxic's double jump gets accelerated by Atow's bump. Atow impressive. Oh, it's going to be a goal. I was going to say impressive to get back to this ball. He's using a ton of boost in order to take this shot. But it didn't seem like it was going to lead to a goal, but he actually gets it with enough speed. And Toxic can't clear it. He slams it just inside the post. So an Atow lead. A risky play to air dribble that low. Wasn't so much an air dribble, but to fight back to the ball, use a ton of boost to take a shot that low, because it could lead to easy counters, but he just has too much speed. 45 seconds to work with. Toxic has his possession, or at least he's trying to get his possession. Atow's looking to be a pest in this corner. Toxic cuts in the midfield. Not going to be able to get the midfield boost before Atow, but Atow does die in the process. He's going to back off and reapproach the ball. Atow diving leads to Toxic slamming against the back wall. That fake challenge works well. Atow clears this. And now he's bought himself a really good position in the final moments. Toxic forced to pop this ball high. He's saving all 32 of his boosts, and he long shot it. He's not going to be able to catch back up to this. Seemed like a bit of a mistake, but he actually has a great possession now, so maybe this was the plan all along. He's going to be forced to take a wall to air dribble this time. 0 seconds off the ceiling. We saw this in the previous game we just watched. Toxic catches it, flicks it, and scores! Toxic on 0 seconds clutches up. I was wondering how a ceiling reset would lead to a goal that doesn't hit the ground. Well, the way you do it is you fall underneath the ball and catch it. Atow had already pre-jumped expecting a shot early in the air, and it never came. So overtime, Toxic is going to take the ball back into his corner as Atow doesn't come to the kickoff. This didn't work out for Toxic last time, but a much cleaner first touch after collecting the boost. Atow needs to be careful with this ball bouncing in front of his net. He's jumping off the wall. Attacks the ball before Toxic can do anything. He's going to try and reset on boost. Toxic looks to shoot early as a way to punish him. The demo could lead to the goal. It's not the best of bounces. Toxic respawns. Decides to grab boost in shadow. Atow on the goal line. The soft touch. Can he follow it up? He should be able to. Atow gets the win. Despite the 0 second heroics from Toxic to force overtime, Atow hits an incredibly soft shot, which is exactly what he needed in order to prevent Toxic from saving it with strength, and follows it up to win the series in his prep for his match against Zen.